First things first, what I want to ask you, your brand new album, The Last Cowboy, is out everywhere right now. Congratulations on the
Thank
release.
you. Thank you. Thank
Quality,
you.
quality project. What is the significance of the name though? Last Cowboy. What is
All
the
right.
significance?
Um, Firstly, like it's been tough to correct everyone because um it's actually not an album. It's actually just an EP. Um, but where everyone is calling it an album, I've just kind of had to let it sort of do its thing. It gets tough to tell everyone no, no, no. It's an EP. But yeah, it's actually an EP, not my album. So my debut album will come soon. Let's just put it like that. Um, but I guess that's it's a tough one because today, what's the difference? But I guess for me, this was just more about exploration. The name, the Last Cowboy, it basically comes from these 10 principles from a book I read. And the book I read, the book's called Cowboy Ethics. And then the 10 principles are: live each day with courage, take pride in your work, always finish what you start, do what has to be done, be tough but fair. When you make a promise, keep it, ride for the brand, talk less and say more. Remember that some things aren't for sale, know when to draw the line. So those 10 principles, when I was reading it, I was like, yo, like, this is me, like, and I was like, in my head, like, to me, it was like those principles, they can apply them to anything you do. You can apply them to music. You can apply them to business. You can even apply them to being a humanitarian or to charity. Like, it's about having a certain standard. So I was like, okay, so I feel like these cowboy ethics they align with me. And then I don't know, I feel like in the time I've been making music, obviously you get to know people personally. And just in that time, I felt like it's a bit egotistical, I'll admit it. But I felt like I was one of the few people that I can say, oh, I can definitely vouch for the fact that I live to every single one of these principles. So hence the Last Cowboy.
Cool. Have you read the book that much that you've got it in memory, or have you just had to Google what those 10
I
principles?
100% Googled it. I 100% Googled it just to remember what they were. Like there's three that I know for sure, which is like take pride in what you do, live with courage, always finish what you start. I always remember them three. But the rest, I mean, I'm not gonna remember the rest.
Those are good ones to remember, though. Those are good ones to remember. Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things that I've admired about you since I first came across you, I think it was Focus Wales 2020, or the first Focus Wales back after COVID. You were a part
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the BBC Horizons opening showcase
yeah.
at, um, at, at Focus Wales at the parish,
Hmm.
and instantly, like, superstar was like in my head. Like, that guy's like sick, like just like solid, like presence. And then I think that's evolved even more over the years. Caught you at Focus last year, and again, it's at a different level. What do you think that you've done personally to build that sort of presence on stage and that sort of comfortability?
I'd say, do you know what it is? I think there's two things. One is just experience. Just doing more shows, just naturally you start figuring out, okay, I like doing this personally. This works for me. This doesn't work for me. Um, and as that time goes on, you also get more confident. I feel like once you start, everyone it's just like anything. Once you first start, you're not going to be that good at it. So and like you have to be okay with that, and you have to not let yourself get down about that. And then the more you start to do it, the more you can start to, okay, this worked well this time. This didn't work so well. Like I've had some mishaps on stage as well, but you learn from those as well. So that's definitely just experience, which is just a natural, just doing it thing. Then the second thing I'd say is taking inspiration. So like I take my stage inspiration from all sorts of genres, not just hip hop. So like for example, take Small Miracles, their headline Finn, they're a great performer. I'm like, okay, this is not hip hop, but what are they doing? Sorry, that I can take from this and emulate and put into some of mine. What works? What is it that's working here? And then take someone like Menace as well. Again, great performer. Not necessarily hip hop either or rap. But again, something I can kind of take a little bit from. And then also people like Kendrick. So whenever I go to a show and when I like Kendrick has been one of the best shows I've ever seen live, and also J. Cole, because it's like the mic control, the breath, the crowd interaction, just the little things like you can tell that this person is completely in the zone. There's not a moment that they miss. There's not a moment that they miss a chance to look at the camera and engage. And then for certain bars or certain words or certain lyrics, they put special emphasis that's different to how it is on the recording to help you give that live presence. And I think just taking those three things, experience, people around me that I know personally and speaking to them, and then also some of the greats and just trying to learn what I can from them as well.
I was going to say, you brought up Kendrick there, and I've seen you and Ogun perform together, as I'm sure many people have.
Yeah.
And it's often the comparison that I go to. Ogun and Mirari are like Wales's Kendrick and Keem, and like that's where I go with it. I mean,
I like that. Yeah.
that's where I go with it. You brought up Small Miracles, who you've collaborated with quite a bit over the past year or so in terms of live shows and music as well, as they dropped Extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
That was this year. That was this year. Again, quality stuff. You've also got a couple of collaborations on the project, on the EP, features from Corrupted and Sienna Crowson. Working with Corrupted, how did that link up come about with you both being at other ends of the country?
Yeah, so this is why I think things like Focus Wells are actually so good, because we met in that first Focus back from COVID, and I went to go watch Lizzie Squad's set. So I can't remember the other guy's name, but it was Corrupted and
H.
it's okay, cool. It was them two performing, and I was like, yo, like these lot are hard, like, and it's crazy because I'm coming from London, and it's like Cardiff was enough of a transition, but then I'm in Wrexham now, and I'm like, yo, wait, this would go down in London just as hard as it's going down here, like, and I'm like, yo, these guys are sick. So that's sort of how I first met Corrupted, and obviously when he came off stage, I was like, yo, like I gave him his props, to say what, like, well, go on, like you're doing your thing, and then from there we just sort of followed each other, stayed in contact, and then I had the beat for Rodeos, which is a song on the project that me and Corrupted featured on. My brother sent me the beat, and the beat was so tough, but I was like, it took me forever to write to it because it was so challenging, right? And then eventually I finally managed to put a chorus on a verse, and I was like, nah, this needs someone else to bring some of that attitude, some of that grease, but at the same time, some of them flows, skippy. So then I was like, raw, you know what? Shout out Corrupted. So then I sent him the song, and to be fair to him, he's on it because he sent it back to me, I think, in like 3-4 days. And then I was like, yo, this is hard. And then I sent it back. I sent one more thing back just to tweak something. And then he sent it back again like 2 days later, and it was done, like literally. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. And shout out him because his flow, I don't think people actually understand sometimes that his flow on that verse is so skippy, and it's actually a crazy, like it's a technically very difficult flow. Like all I'd ask is if anyone listens to that, you try and rap along to it and you'll see just how technical that flow is. So shout out him, man.
We've tried and failed, man. We've tried and failed. And you also, like I mentioned, you've got a Sienna on there as well, who also brings a little bit of something different to the project. How was it working with Sienna?
Yeah, so Sienna's good. Sienna's like my little sister, man. So me and Sienna first met through Urban Circle, which is like a organization in Newport. I did some like creative sessions with them, and then Sienna was there and like, she sung, and I was like, wow, this girl's got a great voice. And I think this is actually her first official release. Our song is her first official release. And then we were just talking, and she was like, man, I want to, I want to do this thing properly. Da, 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 da. And then it was actually her that sent me a demo of her singing the chorus on that and with her like first verse. And then I was like, yo, this is hard. And she was like, oh, do you want to put a verse on it? Da, 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 da. And I was like, all right, cool. So I put a verse on it and then we went into the studio and did it properly. Um, and then what had happened was with that situation, I don't think she was going to release on it her end. So I was like, yo, is it cool if I release it? Because I love this song and I think people are going to like it too, you know? So I think it should definitely go out. And she was like, yeah, sure. But by the time that went round, because the beat initially was a YouTube beat. So by the time that had happened, I think the beat had got sold. So then my brother actually remade a beat around the vocals we'd already laid, which is what you hear now as Wonder Why.
Quality stuff, and hopefully we get a lot more from Sienna in the near future as well, because quality
Exactly.
artist in her own right. Talk to me a little bit about Living Art. So you announced a couple of months ago, I think it was, that Living Art was a thing. Tell me a little bit more about me. Help me get a little bit more of an understanding of what Living Art is.
Sure. So Living Art is a curation and actualization agency. Curation in the sense where we want artists to be able to come with an idea at whatever stage it can be at, and help them properly flesh that idea out into what it can be, into its fullest potential. I think the reason behind that sort of arm of the agency is because I found that recently, in recent times, like music or just art in general, because living art is not just a music thing, it's just it's multimedia, and multi art forms. But there's this push towards the independent artists and the solo artists. And don't get me wrong, there's super talented people that can produce, mix, master, write all of their stuff, right? Those people are great. Like kudos to those people. Not everyone is that inclined, you know, and not everyone is at that stage of their career. Now, you could have an excellent idea or an excellent melody and not be unsure about, okay, who can I get to produce the music around this melody that can make it shine, you know? And that's what living art is. It's that curation piece, that incubation piece. And then the second half of sort of what we do is visual communication. I think art is a wonderful thing, but just like anything, you've got to you've got to put it in a form visually that people can digest it and people are intrigued by it and people want to watch it. So for example, you could have a banging song, or even you might have written a banging short script, and like you're unsure about how to go about filming a short film about it, you know? And like that script is great on paper, but not everyone wants to read a script on paper. It might be good to actually have it in a film form for people to see. So that's that visual language, visual communication piece.
So it sounds like it's going to be another tremendous organization that helps fulfill creatives' passions and dreams, I suppose. You know, because yeah, the multifaceted side of it. I think a lot of organizations probably focus on one thing or another, but with Living Art, it sounds like it's going to go across the board a little bit and help
Exactly.
realize a couple of things.
Exactly. And even speaking on that, going across the board, like one thing we're really interested in doing is what I call cross-pollinating, um, which is this idea that look, we're not all one thing, we're not all one type of person, you know. We all enjoy a multitude of things. So in digesting our art, we should be open to the idea of different genres and different cultures putting into making that one piece.